thought they were very good for the first 45 minutes and then dropped off. But I thought they were outstanding the first 45 and moving the ball quickly, playing two-touch most of the time, getting after them when they didn't have the ball. And what people have to understand at this time of the season where you've had a hard pre-season, you may have missed some training because of slight tweaks. Some players need 6 games to get up to speed, some need 8, some need 10. So you're looking at a version of Rangers right now that is not there in terms of fitness. I think it was very encouraging for the first 45 minutes last night.
Is that the exciting part for fans, is that this is just the beginning of what
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think it'd be wrong to judge him. I know he was upset by the performance at the weekend, and he's put a marker down very quickly. This is not acceptable, and that's how it should be. And there were experienced players that he went after, leaving the captain out. And I liken it to when I was captain of Scotland and I worked under Jock Stein. Jock Stein would always pick out Kenny and I, said, he left the younger guys alone and sort of made the point of, if I can get after them, I don't need to speak to the younger ones. That message has already got to them. So I think there's nothing wrong with that. He said, this is my level, and nothing other than my level is acceptable. Now, I personally think that's a good thing. I think it was a long-winded way of what I would say when I was here and what I've experienced in my football career. When you work for a big football club, a giant like Glasgow Rangers, every team you're playing is a cup final. And you're playing against two types of player. You're playing against a Rangers supporter who's desperate to be at Glasgow Rangers, so he's playing out of his skin, or you're playing against a Celtic supporter who doesn't like you very much. So that's the challenge. Every game's a cup final. They may end up being an easy game, don't start off being an easy game. There's that period in the first 15, 20 minutes, half an hour until you get that goal, and then it settles it down. But Rangers do not play easy games. And I think that's what he was trying to say.
Alan was just with his tongue in his cheek saying that it's already a 2-point gap in the title race. But
yeah.
Do you see this Rangers side, with the vision that Russell Martin has, that this is a challenge?
I think you're asking that question after 90 minutes in the league. I think this is all about the bigger picture for the new owners. I think the noises and their actions are suggesting they know what they're doing. I think the fact of this is not the first rodeo in terms of being involved in soccer. And it's not a case of will they get it right, it's a case of when they get it right.
I think patience is needed in that process.
Yeah, and that's not, time is not your friend when you're working at a big football club. When you work at a big football club, the expectation levels are enormous, and with that come enormous pressures. But I think we're in for a very exciting league this year. I'm keeping everything crossed that this is going to be a very, very good year for us.
Graeme, just to go back to that,
and it's all, you can watch it on Premier Sports.
You've done your bit,
you can.
Just to go back to the stuff you said about Russell Martin.
22 games, by the way, in the league.
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
82 overall, all competitions.
Graeme, the Russell Martin comments after Motherwell, how big a gamble was it for
not.
him to do that, and how pivotal could it be long term that it worked?
No, I think it's what I just touched on. It's what Jock Stein would have done. It's what he did to me. What he did to Kenny. He's putting a marker down. These are my standards. What better time to do that than after 90 minutes? That wasn't acceptable to him. He always, and Jock was the same. And I'm talking about him because I did a thing with Fergie. He did a thing for me, a couple of weeks ago in Manchester for my charity. And he was brilliant. And I told him the story about, I had lunch with Hugh McIlvenney, the great sports writer, maybe the greatest of all time. Sorry, chaps. But along with, was it Wilson, was it the Mail? Is it Wilson?
Yeah.
Regarded as the very best. And I said to him at this lunch, I said, so you've got Don Revie, Bill Shankly, Matt Busby, and Jock having lunch. Who are they all listening to? And without hesitation, he said Jock. So Jock was a unique individual. And when you're talking about the Rangers, the current Rangers manager going down this road, that's the road he definitely would have gone down. This is my level, and nothing, whether you're a captain or a senior player, no one can drop below that. And I think, why not get the message out there after 90 minutes?
And how important then?
Well, we can tell. We don't know. We don't know how important it will be, but that's something he felt he needed to do. And he's the manager. It's all about his head at the end of the day. He will live or die by his decisions. That's price on the ticket when you're a football manager. I have no qualms with his actions or his words after the weekend. But
the Dundee game now coming up needs to be the same.
Yeah. I come back to it. It's as I've already alluded to. Some players won't be bang on it, and some players will. And he's got to make sure he's got to pick up players that are in the right place physically to meet the demands of what that game will be. It'll be a hard game. It'll be a cup final for Dundee, and you have to. I had dealt with that as a player, and then when I became a manager, I had to deal with that because I had some big jobs where that was the case. Whoever you played, it was their cup final, and you have to deal with that. And it's not a new experience. Rangers players historically, when they've been successful, historically I've dealt with that. And if he wants to be successful, that is the number one message I would say. He has to get across to his players. We do not play easy games of football.
Was that a surprise to you, or a pleasant surprise that Russell sort of had that in him to publicly?
I don't know him, but I know that at Glasgow Rangers, what we're talking about, we don't play easy games, and to highlight it can only be a good thing. And his way of highlighting was that the road he chose to go down. I thought it was a long-winded way of saying it, but he's got his message across. These are my standards. Who else matters when you're talking about the level of commitment and the level of effort? Who else is there to talk about it? It's down to him. If he's not happy with it, he's entitled to say what he wants about it. And I personally think it was right. Get it out of the way on day one. This is what I want.
From what you've seen in the Fort Rain, when you mentioned them there at Leeds United, what have you seen there that gives you the...
I think without a shadow of a doubt, like anyone going into a new business, there's a you can do your due diligence and you can look at how you think it works, but when you get your feet under the table, they're coming from a different culture, a different sport, and they would have looked at it and thought, we'll just sort of roll in and we'll get it, we'll back in what our knowledge tells us about an American sport. I'm sure there was some things that totally surprised them, and I think being down there is only good news for Glasgow Rangers. But the one thing they can't understand or get overnight is the culture here in the west of Scotland. But they will get it right. It's not a case of will they ever get it right. It's a case of when they get it right. And that's what I firmly believe. And I like the noises coming out of the place.
You've recruited mainly from England as well. I mean, does that apply to the players coming up here in terms of recruitment?
Well, I did the exact same thing. If Russell's if he's choosing the players, his knowledge is of English football, as it was for me. I spent the vast majority of my playing days in England, so that was the players that I knew better than anywhere else. So hopefully it's a formula that works for him as well.
Can I ask you about Scotland? We're coming up to a World Cup qualifier campaign with a bit of pressure, I think, maybe on Steve.
I think he's done a great job. You've got to remember he's working with a group of players that, we have to be honest in that we've got a good group, but we're short in certain areas. McTominay in the recent history has been our main goal threat. And it came home to me at the Euros in Germany, the opening game, where we had our player who plays for Watford challenging Gundogan, who played for Barcelona. And that's where we are, unfortunately, right now. But I think the manager's done a very good job in getting the best out of the group. And as a manager, that's your job, to get the best out of the group you've got. And club management, you can change that with transfer windows. But when you're an international manager, you are working with the group that the country has thrown up at this particular time. And I think the group we've got is a good group. I think we're short of firepower, but I look at the way the manager sets them out, and I think he's getting the best out of that group. And that's all, as a Scotsman and as a football supporter, we can ask of Steve.
We're seeing more and more youngsters moving abroad to play their football, to learn. How beneficial can that be?
enormously. You know, I went to Italy when I was 31 years old. I had 2 years there and I learnt a great deal. Not just about football, but, you know, different culture, different approach to things. And these young men that are going over there will come back as better human beings.
The SFA said they'll look at Clark's contract after this. Clark himself will say he'll have a think about it as well. Considering what you said, would you like to see him stay on?
Listen, this will be decided in this. Can't say that. This will be decided with this qualification. It's not going to be easy. We've got Belarus and Denmark.
Greece as well.
In Greece. I saw Greece at Wembley beat England. Deservedly. But as a Scotsman, I'd think that anyway, wouldn't I?
Graeme, just to come back to Rangers quickly on Gassama, 4 goals in European competition so far, and he's kind of almost taken everyone by surprise. But with him playing well and Ant-Man looking good last night, and then Mikey Moore still to be introduced, how?
I'm greatly encouraged.
The goal threat is increasing.
Yeah. I'm greatly encouraged. I know we've played one game, and one game in Europe. No, more than one game in Europe. 3 games in Europe. But I'm greatly encouraged. But I'm not going to sit here and make outrageous claims. We're going to do this and that. It's one league game. And as I pointed out already, when you start on day 1 in pre-season, the biggest worry for a manager stroke coach is injuries to them, because they get injuries in that period, then that can kick on months into new season. But someone will have had strains and things where they've missed pre-season games, a certain amount of training. So you're now looking at a group of players that are not all up to speed, but that will happen in the next month. So maybe Christmas time will be the best time to make a call.